The Sandbox Paris office. This is quite an occasion to get to learn a little bit more about Animoca brands first, for those of you who are not too familiar, and I guess discuss more about what's your vision for the open metaverse and what are some of the trends we're going to see this year. Let's start with your introduction.
Sure. I mean, very quickly, I think Animoca Brands is probably the largest, at this point, largest Web3 and GameFi investor for the time being anyway. Now we have over 400 portfolio companies. We're headquartered in Hong Kong, but we're all over the world, really. And, the mission has always been around digital property rights, as you know. And I think Sandbox embodies that vision very much. To us, really, summarily speaking, digital property rights is the foundation for digital freedom. In the same way that physical freedom comes from physical property rights. The fact that you can own a property, the fact that you can own those rights and to protect it, is the reason that we can have all this infrastructure today, like democracy, governance, safety, all these things that come into play, which are governed by a rule of law, of course, in the physical world. When we talk about some of the things that are happening every time, the risk isn't regulation. For instance, we look at regulation as something positive. You look at Asia, for instance, Hong Kong and Japan have embraced Web3 and crypto and Metaverse in a very, very big way. Hong Kong has gone from, in 4 months, 5 ETFs have been launched. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority has launched a tokenized green bond and issued crypto licenses as well, and has talked about opening crypto retail trading by summer of this year. Right, so very, very forward, for instance, as an example.
That fast.
That fast. And the other thing that's interesting, it's in consultation now. The other thing that's interesting, of course, is that regulation, the reason why that's good is it legitimizes it. One of the reasons why a lot of people in, let's say, the ones who don't like crypto have been anti-regulation, didn't want to regulate it, is that you're legitimizing the industry. The moment you regulate blockchain and crypto, you're actually saying this is real and there's a framework for it. So I think that's positive. But it look different in Europe versus the way they look in Asia, for instance. But in terms of trends, so our projection is that in the next 12, 18 months, gaming and projects such as the Sandbox are going to be driving mass adoption into Web3 in terms of large numbers. And that to us feels, and that's because a lot of the investments that we've done in the last 12, 18 months are all coming to be released this year. And what we also believe in is that, just like what you see in Web3, if one Web3 project does really, really well, it actually kind of lifts the entire industry up in terms of users, in terms of portability, because you can move your assets from place to place, you can sell them, and transfer them, so that's a thing. Those are some positive trends. The thing that currently, I would say, bothers us the most and that we're dealing with at the moment is the whole royalty fight. So we're very pro-royalty, obviously, but I think what we're seeing right now, and when I talk about the threat of the open metaverse, to us, it's more what happens internally. The threat to the open metaverse last year was 3 Arrows, Terra Luna, FTX. The threat to open metaverse right now is royalties. Creator royalties, I think, is a fundamental element of maintaining a free sort of open metaverse. And the reason I say this is because it's respecting our digital property. The creator should have the right to determine what it charges, because it's his property, he's the one who's released it. It's not a marketplace that gets to decide what to charge, right? It's like, here's an apple, I want to sell it to you for $10. No, I want to buy it for $1. That's it, and it's my choice. That's not how it works, right? You can charge what you want, and a free market is determined by the people who do these assets and create them. And there's many other reasons behind it. Ever since the fight started with zero royalties, over 18,000 ETH worth of royalties has been lost. That's about $35 million.
That's insane. And
yes.
Well, there's something I want to maybe reinstate here, like the mission of Sandbox has always been from day one to empower a creator. That's been our statement. That's even the reason we were born, like from traditional mobile free-to-play, where creators were leaving our game because they had no revenue, into like a blockchain-based, NFT-based platform where like creators could receive the fair value for their work and could keep on living with royalties. And we need a bit, maybe more of education on two things. One is that like the royalties that are being collected by the creator are actually also a way for the platform and the creator to reinvest into the ecosystem. I know so many artists, because they earn royalties, they actually spend back by acquiring art, supporting new artists, making them be discovered into many places. So it creates like a virtuous circle where like creators support creator and continue to the overall growth of the ecosystem. So let's keep that in mind. And at the Sandbox, because our mission is to support creators through monetization, the marketplace of Sandbox will enforce the royalties as per the original white paper, 5% on every secondary transaction for the creators. We will not be able to enforce it at the smart contract level on third party, but at least we'll make here a statement that creators, we are always in support of the creators.
I think on that note, so first, creator royalties is the way that artists have future capital formation. This is really important because when we talk about creators, most people think about artists and musicians. That's one kind of creator. But in the digital world, everyone is a creator, right? Because we're all creating data. If I'm posting on Facebook, if I'm posting on Instagram, if I'm even listening to music on Spotify, even though I'm not the one who made the music, I am creating data for the platform. And the point is that there is a right entitled to it, that our time and our data has value, and we should be paid for that, if we want to, right? Because it's our property. It's not really the property of the platform per se. Because if we stop using the platform, what's the value of the platform? It's zero, right? Therefore, it makes sense that we should be entitled to some of that. And so there's a principle, and the principle has to be that we should agree that all creators get some share in that value. And then there's an element of capital formation. If there's a royalty, it's like rent. If you have a way of earning from it, then you can have forward value. The fact that you can own a house, and the fact that there is a yield on it, is the reason why the house would be worth 20 or 30 times its original value. This capital formation is what drives economic systems and value. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't have the banking system. You wouldn't have the economy as we have today if you don't have the ability to have capital formation. So one thing we did this 3 months ago, but then it kind of went away because nobody seemed to care about royalties because before OpenSea said we'll protect royalties, so it didn't matter, and now it matters again, is we issued a set of NFT licenses on Creative Commons, entirely free for everyone to use. So you go to our website and download it. And the principle of this license agreement is what we think is important, is that it's not possible to enforce royalties on a smart contract level. That's difficult. If you do enforce on the smart contract level on the chain, then it's a permission chain, which is against the principle of decentralization. So we think the solution is a legal one, meaning that similar to copyright laws that we've seen in like PMCA takedowns, is that if you don't follow the legal agreement in which the NFT is issued from, then the platform becomes liable. Like in the same way that you can't sell pirated music on YouTube or on, before Napster or these sort of places. So then when you do that, the platform becomes liable. But because most artists and most people in the NFT space, first of all, they don't hire a lawyer as their first thing that they do, right? They don't understand how to protect those rights, which is why we issued this license for everyone to use. And as I said earlier, 18,000 ETH lost so far, $35 million lost in royalties. That's a lot of money that could grow an ecosystem. That's a lot of money that can build creators. But also, that's enough money to pay lawyers to defend people for their creative rights, right? So I think there's a natural model for that. So I think that would be the solution for the long term in terms of protecting artists.